Today, I'm going to show you how to create this simple kitchen inventory tracker in Excel. This spreadsheet helps you organize your pantry, fridge, and freezer, track expiration dates, and quickly see which food items are expiring soon. The best part is that it's beginner-friendly and also works in Google Sheets. So let's just add one item row as a demonstration. So I'm gonna add some bread and pick a category from the drop-down. And then for the storage location, it's a pantry shelf. And then I only have one bread and yes, so one piece. And then for the expiration date, today is the 10th of May, so let's pick 12th. And this is how we automatically get calculated that there are only 2 days left and it expires within 7 days, and we also get this yellow color formatting. I can also add some loaf as a unit if I do not want to give pieces, and you see that the drop-down updates automatically. And we see our totals overall for expired, expires within 7 days, and fresh, today's date, and obviously also the pie chart for the 3 categories. And now let's start. So let's start by creating the structure of the spreadsheet. I always add this green background color, Tahoma 10 or 11, and then check that it's a black font color. Then I also like to make the first column as my puffer with the column width of 1. So now let's add some headers. So for the top table, we'll add 3 headers: category, storage location, and unit. I will merge the cells for that, and then I will color them green with white bold font. I will use 10 rows as kind of placeholders for my drop-down, so you can pick more than that, you can pick less than that. I will add the white background color and some borders. Now let's do the same for our main inventory table. So we'll color the headers in this teal color and white font color. And also I want to make the row heights 17 in this case. Like normally I do 15, but in this case let's try 17, and we can make the header row height 30. Let's make the column widths this time 20, and also center the headers. And then we just need item name, category, storage location, quantity, unit, expiration date, days left, expiration status, and notes. So now let's center them, make them bold. And I usually add like around 1000 rows when I build my trackers, but you can make even more than that or less than that. It kind of depends on how much do you need. Again, I add the white background color and add some borders. So now I will pre-fill my drop-down table above with some sample values. So now we can work on our drop-downs. So we select the whole category column for that. And then we go to data, data validation. And then here we pick list. And then when we press this arrow, we can just choose the values that we have. I just choose all 10 because I wanted to update if I were to insert new categories. And we do the same for our storage location. So we select the whole column and then go to data, data validation, pick list, then press this arrow, and then we just select all of the storage location. And now we have to do it the final time for our unit. So again, select the whole unit and then data, data validation, and then select the whole corresponding unit. So now let's do the 2 columns where we will have our formulas. So I normally format them with this green background color because this signifies to me that there are formulas in there and I don't have to fill them in. So for the days left, it is quite easy. So we know that our expiration dates are in the column G and start at the row G16. So I can just basically check if the expiration date is greater than today's date, but I will also check if it is empty or not, because otherwise it will just basically interpret an empty cell as the 1st January of 1900, and it will always be less than today's date. So we do not need that. That's why I double check that it's not empty. If it's empty, then I leave it empty. And if it's not empty, it's basically G16. So our expiration date minus today. So if it is negative, we know that it's expired. And we can also see if it's expired 1 day ago or like 3 months ago, which like in some cases is really important. And then we can also add our expiration status that we will then later also color code. So we only need 3 statuses. So first things first is we will again double check if the expiration date is filled or not, because otherwise we will get like, again, formatting issues. So we will check the G16 is empty or not. And if it is not empty, we will need to stack if conditions again. So if first condition, if our expiration date is less than today, then obviously it expired before today. So we want this column to have the value expired. So the next thing that we want to check if it's going to expire in the next 7 days. You can also pick 14, 10, whatever is more important to you. I'll just want to know what expires next week to plan ahead for the next week. So for this, we want to compare if G16 is less than today plus 7 days, right? So it would then be today and the next 7 days, if it's less or not. And if yes, then we want to have the expires within 7 days. And this is basically it, because the last condition, fresh, is then everything else, right? Because we've covered less than today plus 7 days. And if it's not less than today or next 7 days, it's obviously fresh. So now we need to have 3 closing brackets because we did use if a couple of times. So now I will just extend the formulas for the whole table and pick extend without formatting, because otherwise, like you can see, it's going to screw my formatting a bit. So what is left is the pie chart and our KPI table and some color formatting. So for the KPI table, we will just select those 4 rows, add some borders, and then the left column, we need to make it teal with white font. So we need total items, expired, expires within 7 days. And it is really important that you type it as at the formula before, because otherwise it will not add up. And let's make it bold. So for the total items, it is quite easy, right? We want to just basically calculate everything that is not empty in our table. So for that, we do have the count A, and then we can just select column, all of the rows in the first column of our table. It is important not to select the header because it's obviously also not empty. And for the other 3, like I said, it is really important that you typed it as exactly as you've typed it inside the formula. So we will just count if, and then we need to pick a range. So we will be picking our whole expiration status column. And then we need to specify the value that we are be searching for. So because I typed it exactly as I've typed it inside of the formula, I can just select this expired cell, and that's it. I do not need to type it again, but obviously you can also insert the text. And I will just fix this column because I do want to extend this formula for the expires within 7 days and for fresh. So if I just insert the dollar signs, you can just insert them manually or press F4. I can then just extend the formula and it updates. It keeps the expiration status column as is, because otherwise it will obviously shift by 1 row. And then I add the today and the today's formula so that we can just see which date it is. So now we can just select those 6 values, so 3 values plus the titles, and then pick the donut chart. So we don't have any values, that's why it looks empty, but I also like to delete the chart title, to add the data labels, and to move the legend to the right in this case. And then I do not want any shape outlines or any shape fill at all. And then I will just move it above the table. So now we can just fill our table and see if it works correctly or not. And then category is pantry, and storage location is again pantry shelf, and then unit is pieces. And then again, today is the 10th of May, so let's just add expiration date of 18th of May. So now we see it calculated correctly. 8 days left, expiration status fresh. We have 1 total item and 1 fresh item. So I can also format the date column to short date and also delete the outlines from my chart. So we can test it out and change our expiration date to 15th, and now it's in the next 5 days. So yes, it expires within 7 days, and we can see the one there, we can see the bar chart updates. And now if we put expiration date to the 9th, then we see days left -1, so it did expire, and also the pie chart updates, the totals update, so everything works correctly. And now we can start with our color formatting. So what we want to have the red background color if it expired, and yellow if it expires within the 7 days period. So what we do is we highlight our status column, we add new rule in conditional formatting, and then we pick this user formula, and we know that our values start at the cell I16. So if I16 equals to expired, then we want to have the red background color. You can type expired in, or you can just click the cell where you have the expired typed in. And then you can pick any formatting that you like. I pick red background color, but you can pick font or outlines, anything you want. If I press apply, you see that it instantly changes, and now I can duplicate this rule. And basically what I need to change is I do not want the cell I3, I want the cell I4 for the expires within the 7 days. And then I want the yellow background color, not the red one. So now we also want to have the red background color in the quantity column if the quantity is 0. So for that we highlight the column, and then we add the conditional formatting, new rule, and now we are in the column E, so we will check if E16 is 0 or not. And let's add some red background color. So what you see is that what I've told you before is that everything basically gets the red background color because an empty cell is 0 for Excel. So what we have to do is we have to double check if it is 0, but also that it is not empty. So for that we can use AND, right? So we check that it is 0 and that E16 is not empty. And now everything works fine. So this is basically it. We can just double check that our conditional formattings work correctly, that our functions work correctly. And now I will add some column with the quantity of 0. So we can see that it gets the red highlight and it expires in the future, so it's fresh. And then we'll add some Fanta, which expires in the next few days. So yeah, everything works correctly. And obviously you can add other features to it. You can set like minimum restock requirements, and it will highlight if the quantity is less than a specific number. However, it will be kind of hard to do it overall, because if you were to specify it's going to be less than 5, then you kind of have to keep in mind that all of the items have different units, right? So maybe for grams, you do not want to set a minimum of 5, right? You want 500, but for the pieces, you want 5 and so on. So this is going to be a little bit more advanced, a little bit more customization needed. So if you need this, let me know, or any other features. I might make a new video in the future about it, but in general, if there is another spreadsheet or tracker you'd like to see, let me know in the comments below, because I am planning to make more beginner-friendly Excel templates like this. And if you don't want to build this spreadsheet yourself, you can download the finished template using the link in the description. And don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see more Excel and Google Sheets templates. And have a great day. Goodbye.